In this video, I tell the tale of the attempted kidnapping of one of my housemates, plus Colombian xenophobia. It was a hell of a week in Medellin. What's up, YouTube? This is Brando coming at you from Medellin, Colombia, and in this video I'm going to share with you a few things that have transpired here in the last week that have me feeling a little bit uneasy about this city and the people in it and my place here as a nomad expat guy. One is the kidnapping attempt of a friend of mine, which we'll get to in a minute, and the other is a very strange religious ceremony that took place here in the co-living space where I'm staying. But first, the all-important reminder to please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you are digging the content. Okay, so this religious thing that happened, let me give you a little bit of context. So this place where I'm at is international co-living in Medellin, and Medellin is I'd say a working class neighborhood here in Medellin. And we're kind of call it like a gringo outpost. The population of this hotel, I guess we would call it, kind of sticks out like a sore thumb amongst the local population, in that I think it's become known as like, oh, that's the house where all the gringos are staying. And in the house, you typically find a population of, like on a Saturday night, for instance, we might have a dinner party of 4 or 5 people over here from different Western countries. There might be a couple hanging out from Germany over here, and you know, a few people from other foreign countries hanging out at that end of the rooftop space here. Very rarely do you have one group that comes here and stays here together that's larger than like 2 or 3 people. But on Saturday night, I pop up the stairs here. There are like 20 Colombians in what my friend aptly described as, well, they looked like a cross between flight attendants and mariachis. You know, the population of this house is like jeans and t-shirts, athletic gear, very casual. But to our surprise, on Saturday night, people we'd never seen before, like 20 some odd Colombians that were all dressed like they were going to a bizarre church, I guess I would say, which turned out to be the case, because they took all the furniture and they rearranged it here into like a town hall meeting. They were all sitting around, very, very, very serious. And a lot of us just didn't know what to make of it and just kind of tucked back into our rooms and started texting the owner. But a friend of mine came up here, and the group asked him if he spoke Spanish. He lied and said he didn't know what they were saying, so that he could listen in to what they were talking about. And they were praying and asking for God's help in getting rid of the foreigners from Medellin. Welcome week it was not in Colombia. And so they were here. So I texted the owner and sent him a photo of this very strange, fervent religious group. And he watched them on video camera. 12 of them had checked in to the place. 12 of them were supposed to be here, and about 8 or 10 were not. So he kicked them out on those grounds. So it resolved peacefully, I guess you would say. They left the next morning without incident, but they hung out here until about midnight. And anytime one of us would pass by, they would all like hush. They would all speak in secret. So what I think happened was that they were aware of the fact that this is the hotel where all the foreigners have been staying in this working class neighborhood. And they sort of bum rushed us, you know, they planned to check in here and planned to hold their religious meeting here about enlisting God's help in getting rid of me and the other white people, basically. You know, so as extreme as they are, we're gonna walk outside here down to the bodega. As extreme as those people were, I mean, that's an extreme case and a very odd, specific incident. It does raise an issue. The general idea of gentrification, I guess we would call it. There's an issue in Mexico City where nomads and Airbnb have increased the cost of living, particularly the rental prices. For the locals who are not too happy about that, and in Mexico City, the locals have been flyering the neighborhoods with very warm messages such as, "Go home, gringos." And here in Medellin, you can already see that happening. For example, the monthly rate of this hotel, hostel, co-living space used to be about $200 a month. Like the lowest room was about $200 a month. And now that's like $450. I'm paying $650 a month for a room with an in-suite bathroom. I don't have a bathroom in the hallway. But it used to be much cheaper. And the real estate market and real estate development market here is exploding because of, well, in large part because of foreigners who are, in large part because of foreigners who are coming here to buy homes and apartments and use them in an Airbnb model. And Medellin is kind of exploding that way. So it does raise an issue that we are part of a problem that's imposing itself on local populations everywhere. And not everyone's happy about that. Not everyone holds a religious prayer to get rid of the expats, but it is a thing. Okay, so the kidnapping incident. Let me give you some context on that one. So I have a new friend, an Algerian friend. And I've never had an Algerian friend before, but I suspect that I kind of won the Algerian lottery with this one. He's a cool guy and one of the widest social latitude human beings that I think I've ever met. Meaning that he's socially palatable both in Beverly Hills and the barrio. He's been to Monaco, where they sell yachts for $500 million, and has no problem hanging out in the local ghetto, where life is worth about $10. And we'll call him Jesse, and changing names to protect the innocent or guilty. And so Jesse was born in Algiers but raised in Paris. So he has no problem with the hood, but has that fancy Parisian accent. And he kind of has like a street patina to his fashion. So he sounds expensive and looks dangerous. It's a good way to describe Jesse. And he's been here for about 3 years in Colombia, and he's owned businesses in the bar and restaurant industry. And he's been my like social tour guide, I guess you would say, because he knows a lot of the restaurateurs in Poblado. And on some streets in Poblado, he's something of a local celebrity. All the security guys know him, the restaurant owners know him, and they get him the right table, and all that. So he's made a lot of friends here. And Jesse has this local friend who's kind of like his personal assistant, or like a valet in the Shakespearean sense of the word. You know, in the Shakespeare stories, the wealthy people had a valet, someone who was running around and doing things for them. So Jesse had this local valet, we'll call him, and we'll call him Andres. And he's known Andres for the better part of a year now. And Andres was always over at our co-living space. We'd give him our food, our beer. He was like, as far as we knew, one of our friends. And he always sort of went along with what Jesse wanted to do. Andres never had his own agenda. But one night last week, all of a sudden, Andres is telling Jesse, we have to go to this bar and this other bar, and kind of made Jesse suspicious as to what Andres' motivation was. And at one of the bars, Jesse overheard Andres' Colombian friends talking about kidnapping him and taking his shit. Because Jesse's kind of, he's a little flashy. He's got a fancy new Apple Watch with like a shiny band, a gold bracelet. He's, I guess you would say, cavalier about walking around here in Colombia. Like, I have a knockoff Rolex watch that I got in Vietnam, and I love the watch. It works really well. I just like having the watch, but I will not wear it here in fear of having my arm cut off for it. But not Jesse. He's been kind of cavalier about his jewelry and his money. And so apparently, after this incident happened, after he heard the guy in the bar on the phone talking about their harebrained kidnapping plot, he confronted Andres on the motorbike. They had some accident. Jesse now has like a welt on his forehead and a broken rib. But what's most disturbing about the story, because he discovered their plot before they were able to actually kidnap him. What's disturbing about it is that Jesse's local Colombian friends, the restaurateurs, and all the people that treat him like a local celebrity, many of them, even though they were not involved in this kidnapping plot, knew about it and did not tell him or warn him. And it's just, it doesn't speak well about getting to know this city and these people as well as Jesse does. And I'm not like ready to leave here in fear of being kidnapped myself. I guess you would say I'm just, I'm thinking less and less and less about a longer term future here in Medellin. It is a pretty great city. And where I was all last year in Vietnam and Thailand, there are thieves that'll steal your cell phones, and there are scams, you know, that are carried out on the Westerners to try to relieve them of their money, but no kidnapping, no kidnapping plots. I also grew up with a Colombian friend back in the States who's from Medellin and has a kind of well-to-do family here. And some years ago, one of his cousins was kidnapped and hung upside down by a tree in order to get leverage over his family. And I think I'm pretty sure they paid several $1,000s, like tens of thousands of dollars, to get his cousin released. So the dangers and all the cautions that you hear about when traveling to Medellin they kind of hit home this week. They kind of hit home. And the commonality between these two stories, this religious group and my friend's kidnapping plot, just I guess the commonality is that there's not always a welcome mat when you're traveling the world and living in foreign countries. Tourism's a different thing, you know. I think pretty much every country is happy to have straight up tourists come and visit, see the sights, stay in the hotels, spend the money. But this digital nomad thing, and in part, I guess, you know, legit expats, that has a kind of a different effect on local populations. They are not always stoked about it. So just a little word of warning and caution and a bit of a reality check about doing this digital nomad thing here in Medellin. It's not all Pollyanna, and it's not all YouTubers standing in front of monuments with smiley, shiny, happy faces. I'm here to bring you a little bit of the reality. So I will may let you know what happens with my friend Jesse, because tonight he's going over to confront his restaurateur friends as to why they did not warn him about his impending doom. This is Brando. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you like the content, and I'll see you in the next video. Unless I get kidnapped.